Life is often filled with noise, distraction, and urgency. Many people move through their days reacting instead of acting, carried by impulses instead of guided by principles. The Stoics remind us that living well is not about waiting for better circumstances, but about directing our energy toward what is within our control here and now. They believed that the quality of life comes from the quality of thought and action in each moment. To live better today, one must apply reason, discipline, and clarity to daily choices. This lecture explores 10 ways, drawn from Stoic philosophy, that can help us strengthen our character and live with purpose. The following chapters are not theories removed from life. They are practices that anyone can apply. They are exercises in clarity, courage, justice, and discipline. By following these principles, we create stability within ourselves. We gain the strength to face difficulty, the wisdom to judge events fairly, and the calm to live without needless anxiety. Each chapter offers a clear path to align life with virtue. Each practice is a reminder that today is the arena where philosophy must be lived. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Begin with clarity of mind. The first way to live better today is to begin the day with clarity. The Stoics recommended reflection in the morning before entering the activity of life. Marcus Aurelius would write in his Meditations to prepare himself for people, challenges, and unexpected events. Clarity at the start of the day sets the tone for how the mind will respond. A clear mind does not form on its own. It requires deliberate practice. Before engaging with messages, news, or obligations, take a moment to sit in silence. Ask yourself, what matters most today? Which actions are in my control? Which distractions should be left aside? This framing protects you from being carried into chaos by the urgency of others. Clarity also involves recognizing the difference between what is external and what belongs to your own reasoned choice. External things include the actions of others, the weather, delays, opinions, and outcomes. These are outside your command. Internal things include your thoughts, intentions, values, and responses. These are your responsibility. The Stoics trained themselves to constantly divide these two categories. This division keeps the mind grounded and focused. When you remind yourself that opinion, desire, and judgment are within your control, you train your attention on what can be shaped. You no longer waste energy trying to change conditions you cannot influence. You return that energy to your choices. This adjustment creates mental clarity. The mind becomes less tangled, thought becomes more direct. You begin to operate from a place of centered direction rather than scattered reaction. From this position, life appears less confusing. When events happen, you are not immediately drawn into them. You create space between stimulus and response. In that space, you can evaluate your principles and decide how to act. That decision becomes your expression of character. Each decision, when made consciously, builds consistency between your values and your behavior. You can distinguish between noise and meaning when your priorities are clear. You will recognize which words, messages, or situations are distractions. You will see which ones demand your presence and integrity. Noise pulls attention away from what matters. Meaning directs attention to your role and your responsibility. The difference is often subtle, but clarity sharpens your awareness of it. In practice, write down 3 intentions for the day. Keep them aligned with virtue, not with fleeting outcomes. This could mean choosing patience in conversation, integrity in work, or moderation in consumption. You can also frame them around specific challenges you expect to face. For example, if you anticipate stress at work, your intention might be to respond without complaint. If you expect delay, your intention might be to practice acceptance. These intentions should reflect the kind of person you are building yourself into. These intentions are not rigid commands, but reminders of how to guide yourself. They create structure without pressure. They point your attention to the process, not the reward. When used daily, they act like a compass. Even if you get distracted, you can return to them. They restore your focus. They help you recenter in the middle of activity. By starting with clarity, you establish a strong foundation for everything that follows. Your thoughts become less scattered. Your decisions become more deliberate. You protect your energy from being drained by unnecessary emotion. You increase the probability of acting in alignment with your values. Each clear start becomes a form of training. That training accumulates. It strengthens your ability to act calmly and consistently in difficult situations. The habit of beginning with clarity becomes the habit of living with direction. Chapter 2. Control your judgments. A central teaching of the Stoics is that events themselves are neutral. What disturbs us are the judgments we attach to them. Epictetus taught that when something happens, we must pause and examine our opinion about it. If anger, fear, or anxiety arises, it is not the event, but the interpretation that causes disturbance. To live better today, practice separating fact from opinion. A fact is something that can be observed and confirmed. An opinion is a personal interpretation that follows the fact. For example, if you are delayed in traffic, the fact is simple: movement has stopped. The opinion might be that the situation is unfair, frustrating, or a waste of time. These opinions are not part of the reality itself. They are mental additions layered onto the experience. By recognizing the difference, you free yourself from unnecessary agitation. You learn to work with what exists rather than resist it with internal resistance. You can decide how to respond with reason rather than reflex. This practice reduces emotional volatility. It helps stabilize your reactions. When something happens, pause and observe. Instead of being pulled by your first emotion, examine the chain of thought. Identify what is real, what is assumed, and what is being exaggerated. Most reactions are based on expectations that were violated or attachments that were threatened. When you see this, you can interrupt the pattern. You can step back and choose to act with intention instead of impulse. Training this habit requires daily effort. Begin by asking, what exactly happened? Then ask, what did I add through my interpretation? Was there a thought that labeled the event as good or bad, fair or unfair, personal or impersonal? This creates distance between the event and your emotion. With this distance, you gain freedom of response. You do not need to be controlled by the first reaction. You can reshape it. You can choose calm instead of outrage, patience instead of resentment, and focus instead of distraction. The more often this practice is applied, the more familiar it becomes. You begin to notice patterns in your thinking. Certain events may always trigger the same judgment. By studying these patterns, you make your mind less automatic and more aware. You create space to evaluate your principles in the middle of stress. You sharpen your ability to remain composed when others are reactive. You can offer steadiness where others offer complaint. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that if something external disturbs him, the disturbance is not the thing but his judgment of it. This reminder is practical for any situation. It is not abstract theory. It applies in work, in conversation, in traffic, and during conflict. The external world can be unpredictable, but your judgment is always within reach. It can be shaped by reflection. It can be trained to serve you rather than rule you. A practical exercise is to journal one event each evening where emotion was strong. Write the fact first. Keep it as neutral and objective as possible. Then write your interpretation. Name the thoughts, feelings, and assumptions that followed. Finally, reflect on how you could have adjusted that interpretation. What would a more reasonable view have looked like? What would a Stoic have focused on instead? This practice sharpens clarity. It turns reflection into training. It builds awareness. It prepares you to meet the next event with steadiness. As this process becomes habitual, your perspective becomes more disciplined. The mind becomes less reactive and more responsive. Emotional intensity reduces. Judgment becomes clearer. You develop a habit of internal leadership where your thoughts follow your values rather than your emotions. This internal structure leads to greater calm, focus, and personal control. You are no longer led by the noise of your thoughts. You direct them. This direction is the essence of Stoic judgment. Chapter 3. Practice. Voluntary discomfort. Comfort can weaken the will when pursued without limit. The Stoics often trained themselves through voluntary discomfort. They fasted, slept on hard surfaces, wore simple clothing, and imagined poverty to strengthen their resilience. Seneca wrote that one should practice poverty, not to glorify suffering, but to prepare the mind for difficulty and to reduce fear. To live better today, choose moments where you resist comfort intentionally. Take a cold shower, walk instead of driving, skip a meal, sleep on a firm surface, carry something heavy. These simple acts interrupt the routine of comfort. They test your willingness to act with discipline even when ease is available. They show that strength can be practiced in controlled conditions. These acts remind you that life remains intact without constant ease. You can function without indulgence. You can remain composed without soft surroundings. When comfort is removed by choice, you discover strength. You also weaken the fear of hardship. Discomfort becomes training. You learn to adjust. You observe your reactions without letting them decide your behavior. Physical discomfort builds mental flexibility. It reveals how much control the body can have over the mind, and how much clarity you gain when you separate sensation from panic. The Stoics saw this kind of training as a preparation for what cannot be predicted. If you can endure small discomforts by choice, you are better prepared when life imposes real ones without warning. Voluntary discomfort sharpens gratitude. When you return to ordinary food, warmth, or rest, you appreciate it with new depth. Gratitude becomes grounded in experience. You stop taking routine pleasures for granted. A simple meal becomes enough. A quiet moment becomes valuable. The Stoics believed that gratitude is stronger when tested by contrast. When you know what it's like to do without, you learn to value what you have. You no longer chase excess because you have seen how little is actually necessary. You begin to measure wealth by sufficiency rather than abundance. Training in discomfort also removes dependency. You learn that your happiness is not tied to external luxuries, but to inner strength. You detach your stability from conditions. You stop waiting for the environment to be ideal. You carry your strength into any condition because you have practiced doing so. If you are used to being warm, then a cold wind feels overwhelming. But if you've walked into that wind by choice, it loses its power over you. You have made peace with it. You have shown yourself that you can function in discomfort. This practice does not require extremes. Small exercises performed regularly are enough to build resilience. Consistency matters more than intensity. It is better to do something uncomfortable each day than to take on an extreme once and never repeat it. Even the act of pausing before eating, walking in silence, or saying no to a craving can serve as training. These are deliberate acts of restraint. Each one sends a message to your mind. You are capable of directing yourself. The goal is not punishment, but freedom. It is about reducing the control that ease has over you. The person who can endure discomfort with calm is prepared for life's uncertainties. They are not controlled by their appetite. They are not shaken by inconvenience. They have trained their body and mind to operate under pressure without breaking their rhythm. They can function under stress because they have practiced discomfort by choice. They have faced cold, hunger, and effort without complaint. They know their strength because they have tested it in small ways. Each repetition has built familiarity with difficulty. They learn that distress passes, that effort can be sustained, and that calm can be chosen in the middle of discomfort. They meet difficulty without panic. They respond with clarity. Their experience tells them that they have already walked through discomfort before, and nothing essential was lost. They do not view hardship as punishment, but as terrain they have mapped. They meet loss without despair because they have practiced detachment. They have learned to separate identity from possessions, mood from luxury, and peace from ease. This gives them stability when others collapse. Their stability is built on the practice of small hardships endured with discipline. They carry composure into situations where others break down. They do not require perfect conditions to act effectively. Their standard is not comfort, it is readiness. They focus on what must be done, not on how they feel while doing it. They have removed the expectation that life will accommodate them. In its place, they have built the ability to adapt and continue. They conserve energy by avoiding emotional outbursts. They reserve focus for action, not complaint. Their mind is trained to direct effort with precision. This is not a display of toughness, but a result of preparation. They are not proving anything to others. They are practicing self-discipline. They are making the body serve the mind, and the mind serve principle. There is no need for approval. There is only the task and the ability to meet it with steadiness. Their confidence is not based on motivation. It is based on what they have practiced, endured, and completed without reliance on comfort. The Stoic builds their strength through structure. They apply simple habits to form an identity that can withstand pressure. They strip away what is weak by testing what is real. Voluntary discomfort is one of the tools used to build that strength. It reveals the line between want and need. It trains the individual to act without being ruled by preference. It prepares the character to stand firm when tested by change, conflict, or pain. This kind of strength is quiet, stable, and ready. It is the outcome of effort guided by reason. Chapter 4. Honor your word. The fourth way to live better today is to treat your word as a bond. The Stoics placed great importance on integrity in speech and action. What you say reflects what you value. When words are used carelessly, character is weakened. When words are used with precision and consistency, character is strengthened. The habit of keeping your word builds trust, not only with others, but with yourself. Your word is not limited to promises made to others. It includes silent commitments made in thought. When you say you will wake up early, finish a task, avoid gossip, or show restraint in conflict, that statement holds value. Internal promises guide behavior just as external ones do. Each time you follow through, you reinforce clarity. You give yourself evidence that you are reliable. Each time you break it, you damage your credibility. You create doubt in your own mind. A person who does not trust their own word cannot expect to act with direction. When the internal voice loses authority, decisions become inconsistent. Goals lose urgency. The will weakens. The Stoics viewed speech as an extension of reason. To speak with discipline is to think clearly. Living with discipline in speech means speaking only when necessary and speaking with purpose. It requires awareness of what is being said and why. It also means avoiding exaggeration, false praise, and manipulation. These weaken moral clarity. They disconnect words from values. The Stoics believed that truth was the foundation of strong character. It was not about rules, it was about order. If a person says what they mean and does what they say, their mind becomes aligned. That alignment brings stability. It brings consistency between thought and action. This consistency creates strength. Begin by making small commitments and completing them without excuse. These could include finishing a task on schedule, resisting distractions during a conversation, or stating something truthfully even if it is uncomfortable. The size of the task matters less than the quality of the follow-through. When you build a record of small, completed commitments, you form a habit of consistency. You remove hesitation. The goal is consistency between thought, word, and action. This consistency builds a structure within the self. That structure becomes a source of clarity when external events are unclear. You will begin to act with greater confidence because you have proof of your own reliability. You will not need to wait for motivation. You will rely on process. You will speak less, but with more precision. You will listen more because you are less eager to interrupt. You will observe what is said and what is left unsaid. Each word you choose becomes a reflection of internal order. You begin to treat language with discipline. This order is not visible, but it is felt. Others sense it in your presence. You sense it in your ability to remain calm under pressure. It appears in how you manage conflict, how you respond to pressure, and how you explain decisions. The person who honors their word avoids unnecessary conflict. They are consistent in what they say and how they follow through. They do not make promises they cannot keep. They understand the weight of commitment, so they commit with care. They do not say things to be liked. They focus on clarity, not approval. They speak when the moment requires clarity, not when the moment tempts popularity. Their attention remains on what is useful and honest. They do not need to explain themselves often. Their record of action makes their values visible. When they speak, others listen because past behavior supports present speech. Their actions speak. Their silence holds weight. Their presence communicates intention, even when no words are spoken. They do not need to defend every decision because they live by the same principles across situations. People come to understand what they stand for. Their opinions are respected because they are earned. They speak from experience and reflection. They do not rush to comment. They wait until they have something worth saying. This makes their words carry weight. Their communication becomes measured, deliberate, and aligned with character. Others begin to seek their input, not because it is loud, but because it is grounded. Respect is given because consistency has been observed. Their reputation is built through repetition of integrity. Each small decision to speak truthfully, follow through, or remain silent adds to a larger pattern. This pattern becomes their reputation. They are known for dependability, not unpredictability. They become the kind of person whose word is trusted in personal and professional settings. Their name becomes associated with reliability, which reduces doubt and improves cooperation. This habit makes you steady in leadership, trustworthy in collaboration, and secure in solitude. In leadership, people follow your example. In teamwork, others know what to expect from you. In solitude, you respect yourself because you know you are following your own standard. You do not require external validation to act with conviction. You measure your success by whether you kept your word. To honor your word is to honor your path. It means you are choosing direction over convenience. It means you are tying your actions to your values, even in small tasks. It is to create a standard and live by it. This removes confusion about what to do next. When decisions arise, you already know how to proceed because your principles are clear. You avoid hesitation because you have already done the work of defining your position. You move forward with structure instead of second-guessing yourself. This makes your presence firm, your decisions consistent, and your actions reliable in the eyes of others. The act of honoring your word reinforces discipline. You do not make decisions based on how you feel in the moment. You make them based on what you have committed to. This removes fluctuations caused by changing moods or sudden stress. When the external world becomes unstable, Your internal commitment remains. You know what you stand for, and you act accordingly. This practice makes daily choices clearer and long-term outcomes more stable. You reduce regret because you make fewer decisions you need to apologize for or undo. You avoid emotional decisions that contradict your beliefs. You create less confusion in your relationships and reduce unnecessary conflict. You gain confidence by earning it through consistency. This confidence is not a result of affirmation. It is the result of following through with action repeatedly. It is built through work, not declared through words. It turns speech into action and action into identity. This identity is built day by day. Each choice reflects your values. Each fulfilled promise adds to the structure of character. The result is a person who does not drift but directs. The result is a person who knows what they are building. The person who lives this way becomes durable, calm in pressure, grounded in difficulty, and honest in all conditions. Their life is marked by stability because their foundation is deliberate. Chapter 5. Train your attention. The fifth way to live better today is to train your attention. The Stoics placed great emphasis on the control of thought and the discipline of focus. A distracted mind is weak. A focused mind is capable of consistent action. Attention is the gate through which all experience passes. If you do not control it, you do not control yourself. Attention determines what matters to you. It feeds your emotion, shapes your priorities, and directs your time. Every decision is influenced by where your attention is placed. If attention shifts constantly, priorities become difficult to manage. If attention is steady, actions become more intentional. When attention is scattered, priorities become unclear. Tasks are left half done. Goals are forgotten. When attention is guided, purpose becomes visible. You begin to see which actions are important. You understand what deserves your time and effort. Training your attention means deciding what deserves your energy and keeping your mind rooted in those places. It means refusing to be pulled by impulses, noise, or shallow attractions. It means filtering input and protecting mental space from overload. Attention acts as a gate. Whatever passes through it gains influence. Thoughts, emotions, and decisions all follow attention. If the gate is left unguarded, anything can enter. If the gate is managed, only what aligns with your values takes root. This is why training attention is central to Stoic practice. Without disciplined focus, no principle can be lived consistently. The untrained mind reacts. The trained mind selects. Start by noticing where your attention goes throughout the day. Track what pulls it and why. Recognize the patterns: news, notifications, worry, daydreaming. Pay attention to how your body and mind respond when attention is lost. Ask, is this where I want my mind to live? Is this useful? Is this pulling me toward clarity or confusion? This practice builds awareness. Without awareness, attention cannot be guided. With awareness, attention becomes a tool. You move from reacting to directing. Create simple habits of review. Pause during the day and name what you're focusing on. Ask if it matches your intention. Ask if it contributes to what you value. These small check-ins strengthen mental discipline. They help stop distractions before they take full control. You do not need to eliminate distractions entirely. You only need to regain attention when it drifts. The Stoics trained attention by directing it toward what was in their control. They reminded themselves that energy wasted on externals was energy stolen from virtue. They knew that mental energy is limited. To give it to things outside of one's influence weakens what could be used to build strength. You can apply this principle by redirecting focus during stress, silence, or boredom. When you feel scattered, return attention to your next action. Focus on the step you can take now. When you feel pressure, return to the principles you aim to live by. Ask what discipline, patience, or honesty looks like in that moment. This act is grounding. It reduces internal confusion. Train your attention by creating rituals. Read in silence. Work without distractions. Reflect before speaking. Limit sensory input. Protect the start of your day and the end of your day from noise. These are not rigid rules, but structures that make attention easier to manage. Rituals create rhythm. They give your mind a pattern to follow. When practiced consistently, they help you recover focus without delay. When distraction appears, the routine helps you return. It serves as a map back to clarity. A trained attention creates a clear mind. A clear mind makes strong choices. The decision is not rushed. It is formed through structure. Attention becomes a tool for clarity. When your focus is directed toward what matters, each thought follows with more purpose. You waste less mental energy debating meaningless distractions. Your time is better spent. You carry a sense of internal order because your attention is structured to support your goals. This discipline does not require perfection, only effort. Each redirection of attention builds control. Each moment of regained focus strengthens the mind. You will drift. You will get pulled. But when you recognize the drift and respond with correction, you train yourself to return. This action becomes a form of repetition that builds consistency. These returns develop the muscle of mental clarity. Attention is trained in small moments of discipline, repeated often. As attention becomes stronger, decision-making improves. You are able to hold thoughts for longer periods without being interrupted by impulse. You observe your surroundings without becoming reactive. You respond based on principle rather than urgency. Your habits form around what is essential. You become less drawn to quick rewards and more grounded in lasting values. You reduce mental noise and regain the power to choose with clarity. That clarity creates a stable framework for daily decisions. Your inner state becomes less chaotic. You waste less energy managing emotional reactions. Your thoughts settle, and your planning becomes more efficient. This mental order allows you to meet each day with steadiness. This clarity leads to better priorities, calmer thoughts, and a more directed life. It becomes easier to say no to what doesn't matter. You become more selective with what enters your field of awareness. You give your full attention to what deserves it, and that focused presence improves the quality of your work, your relationships, and your ability to stay composed under pressure. You are no longer led by distractions. You lead through awareness. You recognize where your attention is drifting, and you take responsibility for redirecting it. You guide yourself with intention. This guidance allows you to act in alignment with your values, regardless of what pulls at your focus. That is the result of training attention. A mind that remains stable, a body that responds with control, and a character that stands firm in all conditions. Chapter 6. Accept what you cannot control. The sixth way to live better today is to fully accept what is outside your control. The Stoics built their philosophy on a clear distinction between what is up to us and what is not. They taught that peace comes from aligning your focus with what you can influence, your thoughts, actions, and choices, and releasing concern for things you cannot command. External events will happen regardless of your opinion. People may speak unfairly. Plans may be delayed. Conditions may change. Health, reputation, fortune, and outcomes often move in ways we do not predict or prefer. The Stoics did not ask you to agree with these outcomes, but to accept them as facts. Resistance leads to frustration. Acceptance creates clarity. To accept what you cannot control is not passive. It is an active mental discipline. It begins by observing how often the mind fights with reality. Complaints, blame, and anxiety often signal that you are mentally grasping for control where there is none. You cannot stop the wind, but you can adjust your sail. You cannot make others act with reason, but you can act reasonably. Each day presents situations that test this discipline. You may face interruptions, delays, unfairness, or loss. In those moments, pause and separate what you feel from what is in your control. Identify what belongs to your responsibility, your response, your judgment, your next step. Let go of what belongs to chance, opinion, or the past. This habit reduces stress and restores focus. The Stoics used short reminders to reinforce this practice. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us and some are not." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. These reminders are practical tools. Use them when emotion rises. Use them when expectations break. This mindset allows you to live without fear of loss. You do not attach your peace to what can be taken. You do not tie your self-worth to results you cannot fully control. You tie it to your effort, your virtue, your ability to act with integrity under any condition. This is what the Stoics called living according to nature, living in agreement with how the world actually works, rather than how you wish it would. Accepting what you cannot control does not remove effort. It directs effort where it matters. It removes waste. It protects your energy. It creates emotional discipline. This allows you to live with steadiness, even in chaos. The person who masters this practice becomes hard to disturb. They are not frozen or indifferent. They are focused. This chapter is not about giving up. It is about choosing your field of action wisely. Where your control ends, so does your responsibility. Within your control, your full energy belongs. That boundary makes freedom possible. The mind becomes still. The will becomes precise. The person becomes prepared for whatever comes next. Chapter 7. Strengthen the will. The seventh way to live better today is to strengthen the will through conscious effort. The Stoics believed that the will is the part of you that decides how to act. It is not emotion, it is not reaction, it is the disciplined force behind consistent action. A strong will allows you to stay firm in what is right, regardless of difficulty, delay, or discomfort. The will is trained by using it. Each time you resist distraction, delay gratification, or choose principle over impulse, you strengthen this faculty. The will grows through resistance, like muscle through pressure. When you practice doing what is difficult when it is necessary, you prepare yourself for moments when ease is no longer an option. The Stoics practiced this through voluntary discomfort, simplicity in living, and repetition of virtue. They fasted to train temperance. They worked without applause to train humility. They endured criticism to train courage. These acts were not done to impress. They were exercises in self-direction. They taught the mind that hardship could be faced with reason and poise. You can apply this by choosing small challenges each day. Wake up when you say you will. Complete tasks that feel tedious. Do what you avoid. Follow through without seeking reward. These choices train the will to act without external pressure. They remind you that effort is within your control. Each act is a form of mental resistance. Each repetition strengthens your ability to follow reason rather than feeling. These are not dramatic tasks. They are small, controlled tests that build discipline. You create internal structure by making effort a habit rather than a decision. The more consistently you apply these small challenges, the more natural discipline becomes. When you face something difficult and still act with purpose, you learn to rely on action rather than emotion. You teach yourself to keep moving when it is hard, to stay focused when it is boring, and to finish what you start. These acts train the will to respond with strength regardless of external conditions. They shape your identity. You begin to think of yourself as someone who follows through. That belief reinforces the will. Strengthening the will also requires clarity. You must know what you are training for. If your aim is to live with discipline, courage, and clarity, then your will must be developed to support that standard. If you value consistency, then the will must resist distraction. If you value justice, then the will must stand firm under pressure. Each act becomes a repetition of your chosen values. Each time you act with integrity, you reinforce the architecture of your character. The body follows the will, and the will follows the standard you choose. Without a clear standard, willpower becomes directionless. You may work hard, but without clarity, that effort lacks alignment. The will requires a target. If the target is vague, energy scatters. If the target is defined, energy concentrates. Strength of will is not about volume of action, it is about depth of alignment. Effort that moves in one direction has more power than scattered effort, even if total energy remains the same. The Stoics were exact in defining what they trained for: virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. These were their reference points. These were their compass settings. You must define your own, and then train the will to serve those ends. Training begins by asking what values are worth enduring for. Identify what qualities you want your actions to reflect. Choose words that guide action, not abstract ideas. Discipline can be seen in the act of showing up on time. Justice can be seen in how you speak to someone when they are absent. Courage can be seen in saying what is necessary when silence would be easier. These small decisions form the pathway for the will to follow. Each act confirms direction. A strong will gives stability. It provides structure in moments of stress. It allows you to carry through difficulty without breaking rhythm. It allows you to stay with the work when distractions increase. It holds you steady when conditions shift. It gives you the power to remain silent when provoked, to remain consistent when criticized, and to remain calm when conditions are unstable. These are all expressions of practiced restraint. The will makes this possible. Restraint is not hesitation. It is controlled force. This is how the Stoic builds inner control. They create a system that allows reason to take the lead in the face of challenge. That system is trained through repetition. The will does not depend on mood. It depends on direction. Moods shift. Direction holds. When emotion fades, direction remains. When you train your will, you move with intention instead of emotion. You create separation between impulse and choice. You build that gap through repetition. You reduce the space between decision and action. You do what needs to be done because it is your duty, not because it feels pleasant. That habit, once established, becomes the foundation of resilience. It removes the need for motivation. Motivation is uncertain. Will is deliberate. You act because your standard demands it. You endure because you have trained to endure. You stay steady because you have practiced steadiness. You do the work even when it feels ordinary. You meet your obligations even when they are invisible to others. You return to your task, your code, or your principles without waiting for ideal conditions. Each test of the will becomes an opportunity to increase control. These moments are not accidents. They are openings to practice command over thought and behavior. You strengthen your resolve when you decide, even briefly, that the standard matters more than the discomfort. The ability to persist, to resist quitting, or to speak clearly when silence is easier. These acts forge character. They are confirmations of your internal structure. Each test reinforces your ability to stay committed without reward. When you act without praise, you shift the center of gravity inward. Your work is no longer tied to external response. Your direction becomes stable. You can act effectively whether you are seen or ignored, supported or challenged. This makes you dependable. It also makes you immune to inconsistency created by changing conditions. The will holds the course. This is the result of strengthening the will. It leads to consistency in practice, clarity in judgment, and dignity in action. You no longer rely on permission or perfect timing. You take responsibility for your choices. You evaluate results by effort and principle, not attention or outcome. Your actions become anchored to reason, not impulse. Your sense of progress is tied to your ability to stay in motion under resistance. The stronger the will, the less you need the world to cooperate for you to act with purpose. You do not require ideal settings to stay composed. You do not need immediate results to remain committed. You do not depend on validation to continue. You have built the capacity to move forward under pressure. You are able to lead yourself regardless of noise, failure, or delay. That is the measure of a disciplined will. The ability to direct life from within, guided by standards you chose, strengthened by habits you formed, and proven by choices you made when it would have been easier to stop. Chapter 8. Let reason guide your decisions. The eighth way to live better today is to let reason guide your decisions. The Stoics viewed reason as the highest faculty of the human mind. It is what allows us to reflect, to weigh outcomes, to pause before speaking, and to respond with judgment rather than emotion. A life guided by reason is a life led by structure and grounded in principle. Reason allows you to ask, what is the right action? What does this situation require? What would a wise person do? These are the kinds of questions that pull your attention away from impulse and toward clarity. The Stoics believed that reason was not something abstract. It was practical and available in every situation if you were willing to slow down and use it. When you act without reason, you react. When you react, you surrender control. Emotion drives the action. Reason brings it back. You can apply this by building a habit of pausing. When something frustrates you, pause. When a decision needs to be made, pause. Even a few seconds of space can allow you to bring in your values and avoid needless regret. The mind trained in reason becomes efficient. It spends less time correcting mistakes and more time applying judgment to what matters. It is not pulled in every direction. It uses filters. Does this serve my values? Does this align with what I said I would do? When those questions are active, you stay consistent. You stop chasing what is loud and return to what is clear. The Stoics often journaled as a way to strengthen reason. Writing helps turn emotion into structure. It lets you observe your thoughts and reshape them. Reason does not reject feeling, but it arranges it. It puts it in the right order so that emotion informs rather than controls. This skill requires repetition. The more often you return to principle before action, the easier it becomes to rely on reason in moments of tension. Letting reason guide your decisions is how you build self-respect. It is how you become someone who does what is right without needing pressure or applause. You stop relying on outside reminders. You rely on your own internal standard. Each decision becomes a reflection of personal clarity. It gives you confidence in your choices because you know they were made carefully. You understand the thought that shaped them. You know they reflect your values. You can stand by them without hesitation. You do not second-guess them after the moment has passed. You remember why you acted and remain settled in your judgment. Reason removes the need for constant approval. When you trust your process, you no longer wait for others to confirm it. You are able to act in silence. You are able to act in public or private with the same consistency. This becomes a source of dignity. You know that what you do is not reaction, but reflection. That creates a sense of internal strength. You do not need to explain yourself constantly because your actions are already aligned with a clear framework. That alignment becomes visible to others through your decisions and your restraint. Each day presents choices. Each choice is a chance to follow reason or abandon it. The practice begins with small moments. These moments form patterns. When you choose to respond instead of react, you shift your posture. When you choose to wait instead of speak, you control the timing of your energy. These small acts of reasoning build trust between your thoughts and your behavior. That trust leads to confidence. If you build the habit of choosing deliberately, you build a stable mind. That stability is not built in extreme moments. It is built in repetition. It shows in how you organize your time, how you listen in conversation, how you solve problems without rushing. You begin to pause naturally because you are no longer operating from urgency. You apply judgment without forcing it. That judgment improves the quality of your relationships, your work, and your ability to remain calm under pressure. That stability shows in how you speak, how you respond, and how you carry yourself. It shows in the tone of your words, the pace of your action, and the consistency of your effort. You do not drift into situations. You enter them with clarity. This is what the Stoics meant by living according to reason, aligning your daily life with the order that exists in nature and the structure that exists within your own mind. This practice brings peace. It brings order to emotion and direction to thought. It makes your actions dependable and your presence calm. Reason is not something to find later. It is something to use now. Chapter 9. Keep your standards high. The ninth way to live better today is to keep your standards high, regardless of your environment. The Stoics believed that your values should not change based on external conditions. Character is revealed most clearly when it is tested by pressure, temptation, or instability. A strong character is not built by comfort. It is built by commitment to principle in the face of challenge. To live with high standards means to define your core values clearly and live by them without compromise. It means showing respect even when others are careless, working with focus even when others are distracted, and practicing discipline even when no one is watching. This does not require praise. It requires consistency. When your behavior aligns with your principles, your life gains direction. The Stoics held themselves to the same internal expectations in public and in private. They believed that virtue does not depend on audience or circumstance. A Stoic acts with honesty, justice, and reason, whether or not it is seen, rewarded, or supported. These actions are not for display, they are for the soul. Maintaining high standards does not mean perfection. It means refusing to lower your expectations just to match your surroundings. When others cut corners, speak with anger, or abandon discipline, the Stoic remains steady. They do not adjust their behavior to fit the mood or pressure of the environment. Their response is guided by the internal framework they have already accepted. This steadiness comes from preparation. It is built by rehearsing principles every day and applying them to real choices. Repetition builds consistency. Each application strengthens trust in your ability to hold the line. You build this habit by making your standards visible to yourself. Write them, speak them, reflect on them. Clarify what you expect from yourself in action, speech, and thought. Then act in a way that honors them. Do not wait for stress to test your principles before you define them. Build your standard during calm moments so that it holds under pressure. This preparation reduces internal conflict when it matters most. You already know what you will do because you already chose how to live. Each time you uphold a standard, you reinforce your identity. You build self-direction. Each time you lower it, you weaken the bond between who you are and how you live. This erosion reduces clarity and leads to internal friction. You begin to doubt yourself because your actions do not match your values. This doubt spreads into your speech, your posture, and your confidence. Keeping your standards high sharpens clarity. It gives your mind fewer decisions to make under pressure. It reduces confusion in decision-making. It makes your next move obvious because it aligns with what you already chose to live by. This makes action cleaner and faster. When you operate from clear standards, your energy is used more efficiently. You spend less time debating how to act and more time acting. You are less distracted by comparison or judgment from others. You already have your measurement. You act by it. You review by it. You grow by it. The result is a life of structure. You are not pulled by every reaction. You remain centered. It is a life where your self-respect remains intact, even in moments of failure or frustration. You may fall short, but the standard remains. You do not lower it to match the failure. You return to it. You recommit to it. It calls you back. It gives you something to rise toward. That direction gives meaning to the effort, and meaning brings strength. You are not working aimlessly. You are working in line with something you have chosen. A person with strong standards does not need to control others. They need only to control themselves. Their energy is focused inward. They spend their strength on holding their own line, not pushing others to adopt it. This makes them reliable in leadership, firm in crisis, and calm in solitude. Their stability becomes visible to others through action. This visibility does not come from display, it comes from alignment. That alignment is built and maintained by living each day with high standards, regardless of what surrounds them. Chapter 10. End each day with reflection. The 10th way to live better today is to end each day with honest reflection. The Stoics believed that self-examination was essential to growth. Without regular reflection, mistakes go unnoticed, lessons remain hidden, and progress becomes inconsistent. To live well, one must study the day with attention and assess how thought, speech, and action aligned with reason and virtue. Seneca advised his students to review the day each evening. He asked them to replay their actions and question their motives. What did I do? What did I avoid? What did I fail to do that I should have done? This daily practice helped them catch errors early, reinforce discipline, and track patterns that needed correction. Reflection was their way of holding themselves accountable without shame and without excuses. You can apply this principle by creating a simple nightly routine. Set aside a few minutes before sleep. Write a few notes. Review what challenged you. Review what you handled well. Look closely at moments of emotion, hesitation, and speech. Were your responses aligned with your principles? Did you live the values you committed to in the morning? This process brings clarity. It reveals patterns. It sharpens your awareness. Reflection gives structure to improvement. Without it, efforts stay vague. With it, efforts are refined. You are able to track whether you are becoming more patient, more disciplined, more focused. You are able to see what habits require reinforcement. You begin to treat life as a craft and yourself as a work in progress. This practice also brings closure to the day. It draws a line between past and present. You acknowledge mistakes, but you do not carry them into the next day. You decide what needs to be corrected, and you move forward with a clear plan. The next morning, you begin again with awareness informed by review. The Stoic sees reflection not as a ritual of guilt, but as a system of guidance. It is how you remain honest with yourself. It is how you become your own teacher. Each day offers material for study. Each day offers an opportunity to improve alignment between values and behavior. Ending the day with reflection makes your effort consistent. It builds your internal structure. It makes your discipline visible to yourself. You gain trust in your ability to improve because you see the data. You see your response to failure. You see your commitment to begin again. This is how the Stoic sharpens their judgment, builds their character, and strengthens their peace, by ending each day with honest reflection.